Welcome back. This is the second lesson recording for IM2 on August 3rd, 2020. So linear pair postulate, what is that? So you should be taking notes right now. It is when two angles form a linear pair. That just basically means that two angles are on a line. Okay, remember that a line forms 180 degrees, or we call that straight angle. And so if two angles form a straight line together, then they have to add to 180, which means those two angles are supplementary. So in this diagram, angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. So angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, and so therefore measure of angle 1, however many degrees it is, plus the measure of angle 2, however many degrees that is, if you add them up, it's going to be 180 degrees. That's what it means. So then let's just quickly talk about what is a postulate. Postulate is a statement which is accepted to be true without proof. So it's a mathematical statement. So in math, things have to be proven to be true. Okay, we can't sort of just say that, oh, it's got to be true. But there are some things that are so obvious that we generally accept it to be true, even though we can't formally prove it. But this, look at this, it's just a straight line. So it's on straight line. That means it's going to be a straight angle. So angle 1 plus angle 2 has to be 180 degrees. So that's why this is a postulate. In contrast, a theorem is a statement that can be proven true using postulates, definitions, and other theorems that have already been proven. So we're going to go into some examples of other theorems, but you should take notes on this first part of the note that says linear pair postulate. And so now that we know that if the two angles are supplementary, solve for x. Well, then we can say that x plus 118 is 180 degrees, because we know that the angle x plus 118 degrees, they are on a straight line. That means it's a straight angle, or these angles add up to 180 degrees, or these angles are supplementary. All same thing, saying the same thing. Okay, so then we subtract 118 from both sides and get x to be 62 degrees. Okay, let's do another example. What if the expression is a little bit more complicated? 4x minus 20, and there's x here. Okay, then basically it's the same thing. We know that this angle plus this angle is just going to add up to 180 degrees. So first thing is you start off with this equation. 4x minus 20, that's from this angle, plus x, this angle is 180 degrees. Then from here we combine the like term. 4x and x is 5x, and subtract 20 is 180. We add 20 to both sides and you get 5x is 200, and from there divide both sides by 5 and get x to be 40 degrees. Great. Alright, so this is where you are going to pause the video and you are going to do these 4 problems. And the people in the class, they did this in decimals, or they did their work in notebook, and then they entered their answers in decimals so that I can see your work in real time. So please pause the video now and do these problems, and I'll work them through with you. The answers will be shown in 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. Alright, so what do we know about this angle? Well, we know that the whole angle from here to there is 180 degrees. How do we know that? Because that's the straight angle or straight line. So this is 180 degrees. What else do we know? If that is the case, then we know that this is 90 degrees because we have this square symbol. If that is the case, then what are we left with? We know that this angle has to also be 90 degrees. This has to be 90 because 90 plus 90 is 180 degrees. So that means that 2x plus 26, these two angles are complementary. So 2x plus 26 has to be 90 degree also. So then you subtract 26 from both sides, and you are left with 2x is equal to 10 minus 6 is 4, 8 minus 2 is 64. Then from here, you're dividing both sides by 2, and you get x is 32 degrees. Okay, what about number 2? Same thing. The algebra expression is a little bit more complicated, but we know that this angle and the second angle add to 90 degrees because we have this square symbol which says it's right angle. So we can write this as 4x minus 5 plus 6x plus 5. Now there was a parenthesis, but we can actually get rid of the parenthesis because we're just adding. Okay, is equal to 90 degrees. So we know that 4x plus 6x, let's combine the like terms. They're both variables with x's, so that becomes 10x. And the numbers together, negative 5 plus 5 is just 0, which is same as just 10x plus 0, which is same as 10x, so is 90. Then divide both sides by 10, and so x is 9, and we just solve for x. Okay, now let's go on to number 3. All right, it's a straight angle. This is a straight angle. That means we know that this is a straight angle. So we know that 23 degrees, this angle plus this expression of an angle is going to add to 180 degrees. That's what you will start off with. Then from here, you're going to combine like terms. So that becomes 2x plus 24 is equal to 180 degrees. Subtract 24 from both sides, and you're left with 2x is equal to 156. Then divide both sides by 2, and you get x is 78 degrees. Okay, what about the last one? Again, these two angles are going to add to 180 degrees, so x minus 18 plus 3x plus 2 is going to add to 180 degrees because it's a linear pair. They are supplementary because they are going to form a straight line together, and that is straight line is 180 degrees. So that gets us with 4x, combine the like term, x and 3x is 4x, minus 18 plus 2. Minus 18 plus 2 is negative 16, is equal to 180. Add 16 to both sides. You're left with 4x is equal to 196. Now divide both sides by 4, and you get x is 49 degrees. Okay, so let's talk about vertical angles. When two lines intersect to make an x, so when this line DB and AC intersect to form an x, the angles on opposite sides of the x are called vertical angles. So this face here, this angle here, and this angle here, they're opposite each other. They're called vertical angles. Likewise, this angle and this angle are opposite each other, and so they are called vertical angles. What's special about vertical angles? The vertical angle congruence theorem tells us that if two angles are vertical angles, then they are congruent. That means the angle 1, measure of angle 1, is going to be same as measure of angle 3. Okay? So remember, for theorem, it needs to be proven. We need to be able to prove it, and here is the proof. Okay, so we know that measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2. What do we know about them? They're linear pair, which means they are supplementary. So they're going to add to 180 degrees. What about angle 2 and angle 3? It forms on this line, right? And so they have to be linear pairs because they are forming a line together, which means they are supplementary or add to 180 degrees. Then since they both add to 180 degrees, we can put them together and say that measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2, that's from the top first line, is same as measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3. We see that measure of angle 2 and measure of angle 2 is occurring on both sides of the equal sign, so we're going to subtract both sides, and you're left with measure of angle 1 is equal to measure of angle 3, which means if the angle measure is the same, then we can conclude that the angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent, and this is a congruent symbol. Okay, should be a review from IM1 for you. Okay, so then theorem graphic organizer. This is something that you did as part of your homework, but just so that everybody's on the same page, I would like you to write down triangle sum theorem. All three angles in triangles always add up to 180 degrees. It does not matter what shape it is. You know, regardless of the shape, it's always going to be adding up to 180 degrees. And this is a cool animation of it. So if you have time, you can click on this from the lesson slide, and it should get you to actually, let's try that. In the interest of time, we're not going to do that, but basically, if you just add angle A, B, and C, like A, B, and C, if you put them together, it's always going to form a straight line, which means it's going to add to 180 degrees. And you can see that for this shape, if you add all the angles, it's going to add to 180 degrees. And it does not matter how you change it. It's a triangle. The interior angle of a triangle will always add to 180 degrees. So it's almost like this, well, the animation is not showing, okay? So now we're going to use that theorem to do some calculations. So if we know, if we have this triangle with some unknown algebraic expressions for angles, can we figure out what x is? Yes, we can, because we know that internal angles, all the angles inside the triangle, will always add up to 180 degrees. So put them together, 7x plus 2, 5x plus 6, and 76, you add them all up, and it should be 180 degrees. So you start with this expression, with the relationship that you know. Then from here, you combine like terms, 7x and 5x becomes 12x, 2 and 6 plus 76 becomes 84. Then you subtract 84 from both sides, and then you get 12. You're left with 12x is equal to 96. Divide both sides by 12, and you get x to be 8. We're not quite done yet, because we have not figured out the angle measure of angle A. Measure of angle A is, it says, is 7x plus 2. We figured out what x is, so we need to multiply that number. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 2 is going to be 58 degrees. Okay, all right, this is your turn. You are going to try to solve this problem now. Okay, so let's solve the problem now. We know that all the interior angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. That means 65 plus 50 plus x has to add up to 180 degrees. From here, I can simplify this as 115 plus x is 180 degrees. So subtract 115 from both sides, and you're left with x is equal to 65 degrees. So that's my answer for this problem. For the next problem, what do we know about this triangle, this marking? This means this is 90 degrees. That's what that square means. It's 90 degrees. So that means 90 plus 40 plus 4x plus 10 is going to be 180 degrees. All the interior angles of triangle always add up to 180 degrees. So 90 plus 40 is 130, plus 10 is 140, plus 4x is 180. Subtract 140 from both sides, and you're left with 4x is equal to 180 minus 140 is 40. Divide both sides by 4, and you get x is equal to 10. And you just needed to solve for x here.